Hey everybody, this is Kiana, and I have a story to tell you about something that happened to me today. And I am 100% of the opinion that what happened today was an act of transnational repression. And I'm going to tell you why. So today I went to a law firm in Belfast. As you know, I am currently residing in Belfast. I have filed an asylum claim in Belfast. And I went to a law firm today called Phoenix Law. And it is one of the top law firms that deals with human rights, especially when it comes to marginalized people. So their mandate and a lot of the cases that they take on is against police brutality and police corruption and police situations that are happening like in prisons. And of course, that's not what my case deals with. That's not what my case is about. But today I had an appointment. So I believe it was Friday. I had arrived at the law firm, and I asked them if they would be willing to speak with me to hear about my case. And they said, yeah, we'll set you an appointment for today, which is, of course, Tuesday at 12 o'clock. And I was like, okay, I'll come back at Tuesday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon to tell you more about my case. So when I arrived to their office, immediately I was told that they could not take my case on. And I was like, why? Like, I didn't give you details about my case. So how is it that you can't take it on if I didn't give you details about it? And they're like, well, you spoke to someone previously. You spoke to someone previously about trying to take your case on here, and she advised you that we can't take your case on. And I was like, yeah, I did speak with someone previously. That is true. I did come in and speak with someone previously, but I didn't give her like the pertinent details about my case. So, you know, I didn't give her any details for her to make a decision as to whether or not they would want to take the case on. And so I'm speaking to a paralegal. The person I'm speaking to is like a solicitor in training. He's a paralegal, and we're having this discussion. And I'm like, something doesn't sound right here. Like, I have an appointment with you to speak about my case, and then I arrive to your office, and then you're telling me that you can't talk to me about my case without hearing any details about my case whatsoever. So he is being very dismissive and cutting me off and saying, we're not going to take your case, X, Y, and Z. And I was like, why? Like, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, I would like to speak with like a solicitor who, you know, who can actually look at the facts of my case and decide whether or not, like, this is a case they want to take on or not. And so he was like, no, if you don't leave, we're going to call the police. And at that moment, ladies and gentlemen, I knew that this was the United States or the Republic of Ireland co-opting, once again, Northern Ireland to deprive me of justice and to try and frame the narrative that I am a violent person. And you're going to see exactly why I'm saying that. So I was like, well, you can call the police if you want to, but I will sit here and speak with the solicitor because I want to know exactly why you're not taking my case. So they did just that. They called the police, and two of the partners came out of the firm, and they said, well, we're not going to take your case. We don't want to take your case. And I was like, okay, I understand that you don't want to take my case, but you haven't heard anything about my case, so why? And then I started to explain just briefly, and they were like, well, we don't have expertise. And I was like, well, yeah, you do have expertise because this deals with human rights. You're a human rights law firm. My human rights are being violated. So I just stayed there and I just continued to record and continue to record and continue to record for my own safety and my own legitimate interest. And so I was recording the entire time. And so I decided, okay, I'm leaving. I'm trying to ask questions. They're not actually giving me like straight answers, so let me leave. And one of the solicitors follows me and he's walking very closely behind me, like as if, like, you know, chasing like right behind me. And I'm just thinking, like, what is this about? Like, this is not the behavior of a human rights firm. This is not the behavior of a human rights law firm that protects human rights of, you know, of the marginalized and spearheading human rights. This is odd. So as I'm walking out of the law office, the police show up and they're talking to this guy that is rushing me out, which is part of the law firm. And he did the unthinkable, ladies and gentlemen. This is what he said. He said that I assaulted a woman in there. So then the police held me and they said, we have to detain you because they're making an allegation against you saying that you assaulted someone. I said, I didn't assault anyone. I have it all on camera. Like I took video footage of the entire incident. I didn't touch anybody. Actually, the whole time I was recording for my safety as well as their safety. So allegations like that cannot be made or launched. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the unthinkable happened. An unmarked car with two people in it who I've never seen before, an unmarked car, pulled up right behind the police car, and they were giving directives to me, telling me to get into the police car and to be quiet and to do what the police say. And these people were dressed in plain clothes. And immediately I knew that this was either the Republic of Ireland or the United States engaging in transnational repression. So they put me in the back of the police car and I was in fear of my life. I was so afraid. And I was like, listen, I have the whole entire incident on video. I didn't assault anyone. I am a non-violent person. I don't engage in violence. And, you know, I say you can Google me. You can look at my website. I actually condemn violence. I don't engage in violent actions. And the police officer refused to even look at the evidence that I had because I think he really knew that I was right. So he didn't want to be proven wrong about the perception that he had about me that was being launched against me. And so I'm sitting in the police car and I'm like, oh my God, I'm afraid. And I don't know what's happening. And I'm telling this police, listen, I didn't assault anybody. That's not something that I would ever do. And that's not something that is in my character to do. And what happened in that law firm was me trying to get legal representation and trying to asking some hard questions and not having those questions answered. And so they contacted the police, being a human rights firm. And so, ladies and gentlemen, after that, I'm sitting in the police car and the other police comes out and he says, the lady doesn't want you to be arrested because she doesn't feel comfortable saying that you assaulted her because she knows that I didn't assault her. I didn't touch her whatsoever. And ladies and gentlemen, you see the situation. Do you see what's happening? Do you see what's happening? I went to a human rights firm that is supposed to protect human rights, and the human rights firm declined to represent me to protect my human rights. And then we have a narrative that is being spun. The narrative that's being spun is one, that I am dangerous. The narrative that is being spun is two, that I'm assaulting people. And the narrative that's being spun, I'll get to the third one soon. But did you see, for police come onto the scene, then we have this unmarked car with two individuals in it in plain clothes who went up into the law firm to speak to the solicitors that were in the law firm. And then when the police came down, he said she doesn't feel comfortable saying that you assaulted her. He said they're concerned for you. They're concerned. And ladies and gentlemen, I know exactly what that meant. What they're trying to do is paint this narrative that African Americans, especially if you're Black, that you are suffering from a mental illness. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Not every African American is suffering from a mental illness. Not every African American is diagnosed with a mental illness. Stop trying to make fetch happen. And so they were trying to spin this narrative like, they're just concerned for you. Do you want us to take you somewhere to get some help? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what they're in the way that these countries are engaging in transnational repression. Again, is quite different from how non-democratic regimes engage in transnational repression. What they do is they're not going to take you out immediately. They're not going to do enforced renditions. They're not going to do enforced disappearances, incommunicado detention. They're not going to do that. The Republic of Ireland and the United States. What they're going to do is they're going to try and paint this narrative that one, that you're dangerous when you are not, when you're nonviolent. Two, they're trying to paint the narrative that you are suffering from a mental illness when you're not. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a problem with anybody who is suffering from a mental illness. Actually, I'm an advocate for those who are suffering from a mental illness, because I feel like these people are marginalized. I really understand what they're going through, but I know my country all too well. And what I know about my country is to disenfranchise and to push to stop African Americans from accessing their rights. What they do, especially in the United States, is they engage in a practice of, one, trying to paint you as a violent person when you're not, and two, to say that you're suffering from a mental illness when you're trying to get access to legal representation and access to services. And they're doing this, please understand how they're doing this. They're doing this because what they're hoping to do is to get you angry and to push you over the ledge or over the edge so that you can react violently and so that they can actually take you out. And once they take you out, then they can spin this narrative about how you have a criminal history, a history of violence, and you have a history of mental illness. And ladies and gentlemen, it's happening in plain sight. And if this is happening to you, understand exactly what it is. It's oppression, and it's transnational repression if you are abroad and you have filed an asylum case.